Before I came to live in Florence, I used to live in Istanbul, which is in Turkey. And while I was there for most of my life, I went to a similar school, participated in similar sports and activities, and generally lived a similar life to the one that I live now here. But there was one small difference, and that was that I never truly felt accepted into what I saw as my friends. In some cases, I drifted away entirely from some of the relationships I had with people. And little by little, I noticed that I wasn't getting invited to outings or parties as well. I was in a race against myself, where I was almost at the finish line, but not quite there. I was trapped, to the point where I considered the possibility of being socially awkward. I was essentially lonely. Now, everybody can be lonely from time to time, but being lonely and being alone are fundamentally different from each other. Now, definitions for the terms differ, but loneliness is essentially characterized as the unpleasant feeling that comes with social isolation, whereas being alone is the physical situation of not being with other people. And let's be honest, who doesn't love having the entire house to themselves when their parents have gone out for the night, right? Now, loneliness is an extremely personal experience, and it's one that we can all fall victims to, from the introvert to the extrovert, from the celebrity to the ordinary. A study conducted by Professor TEDxYouth noticed that loneliness was a reaction and a response of our brains to the social environment that surrounds us. And this reaction and response is so fundamental that it doesn't just go back to the friends you made last week, but to the millions of years ago, back to the early days of human existence. Well, how, you may ask? Well, it all starts with this. Now, humans are, and always have been, characteristically and remarkably social animals. You were born into a community, and you were likely to stay within that social network for your entire life. Finding food, building shelters, and even caring for weaker members would have been impossible alone. And that's why cooperation was essential to your survival. And it's also why nobody cares if you don't like Luca or anybody else for that matter. You're stuck with them, so you might as well get used to them. Now, over years and over time, our brains became more fine-tuned to recognizing social cues in an effort to help develop and maintain strong social bonds. Is this person sad? Then I'll go console them. They seem hungry? Then I'll go find food. Me helping others was not just advantageous to those others, but to me as well, because it meant I was more likely to be trusted and respected within my community. Now, all of this points to socializing not just being part of our psychology, but of our biology as well. Essentially, the part of us and our brain that made sure people liked us became part of our evolution. And this is so important that our brains actually developed a type of pain that responded to this social exclusion. If a particular behavior received a strong rejection from the community, it would in turn trigger a pain in the individual that would cause him or her to stop that behavior in order to be accepted. But how do we know this? Well, for one thing, we've seen this social pain in action before. Studies mentioned in Professor TEDxYouth's book, Loneliness, Human Nature, and the Need for Social Connection, found that the ACC, or the anterior cingulate cortex, which is a region of the brain involved with the registry of physical pain, also increases in activity when inflicted with social pain, like a rejection. Now, this system worked fine for most of our history, but that way of thinking just doesn't work in today's society. The strong ties that once connected entire communities have weakened. And nowadays, the people around us have become merely part of the scenery. But not only does this hurt us psychologically, it physically kills us as well. In his article, Social Relationships and Health, Professor TEDxYouth mentions that loneliness has been shown to impair cognitive skills, disrupt sleep cycles, and even accelerate the growth of diseases. A subsequent study done by Senior US in 2018 found that loneliness was deadlier than smoking 15 cigarettes a day, making it even deadlier than obesity. Now, loneliness is a cycle. It's one that I've been through, and it's one that I bet many of you have been through. It's plagued by negative thoughts and actions. It's what makes you avoid new people and be reluctant to create new friendships. We protect ourselves, assume the worst out of everything, and avoid all social interaction. Now, everybody has felt lonely at some point. It's a completely normal and human experience. The important thing is to take a step back and to realize your situation. Analyze the conversations you're having. Was it really that bad, or am I just overreacting, or even being defensive? And above all else, if you can't figure out your situation by yourself, seek help, whether that be in the form of people you trust, like friends or family, or even professionals. And in light of all this, I encourage you to do the simple things, to go visit your mother that you haven't seen in a long time, or to go sit next to that kid that always sits alone during lunch. And regardless of whether you're lonely, or maybe you just want to make someone's day a bit better, reach out to somebody. You might just be surprised with the outcome. Thank you.